Hi, howdy, how there. This video, not much is going to happen in this video. I'm just going to tell you right now. We are going, well, you are going to hear very little, well, I'm going to talk, but you know, nothing's going to happen visually. You're going to see very little. Roblox is not what this video is about. Because I realized earlier today that I hadn't done a few things I was supposed to be doing. I need to practice all the stuff regarding art. I just need to do art every day, mostly. Sketches, other stuff that usually takes up most of the time. I hadn't done that yet today. Also hadn't recorded anything today. And it's pretty late. Well, not like actually late at night, just kind of late in the day. So, I'm just gonna start a little thing over here and do the art and talk about whatever I'm talking about while I record. Because no one's going to watch this, but it's just better if I post than not. I don't know. Alright, what do we got? What are you thinking for biomes? Oh, that reminds me. These old little arching eyebrow planes. Not all of this needs to be forced. Yeah. I'm just gonna put some living beings on these in these places after a quick time speed up. Trees and minerals should eventually be popping up. Yeah. This part of the video is my least important part. For you, it's probably going to be the most visually interesting. Huh. Weird. Everything else grows way faster when you sprinkle on it, but not Rocklands. Crazy. Probably should then therefore put more of these around. Honestly, I could probably do that everywhere. Savannah. Maple. Grasslands. And in each of these places, because I've decided that it's better than trying to decide what I'm putting there myself, I'm just going to slap down some monoliths. Nice. And intelligent life has already arisen. Quite simple, intelligent life. But intelligent life is intelligent life. In the throat. Anyways. That should be that. Now we just leave this to run. And you watch this world do as it does. And I draw and talk. You're not going to see the drawing. I don't have any means of recording it effectively, so, happens. Well, what do I talk about? I guess I could talk about my day while I'm here. It's been a good day. Bit of a weird day. I woke up late, because I stayed up late last night. I've been getting back into Skyrim. That's why I stayed up late last night. Oh, I botched that. Oh. Damn shame. Alright, well. Time to do it again, I guess. Yeah. Skyrim, what's weird about Skyrim is, it's sort of, it's the kind of game where you don't love it. You love the idea of it. Like, I love the idea of playing Skyrim. I love the idea of experiencing that again. But playing it's kind of boring. Just kind of like, oh, you know, the Imperium's fucking around in Skyrim. Go stop them if you like siding with the Nords. And you know, I've realized now, after way too long maybe, but you know, I did eventually come to realize, like, you know that prisoner, the one that dies with you at the start of the game, Lokir of Rorikstead. You know, he's kind of meant to be there. I'm pretty sure his entire purpose narratively, even down to his line, the very, very blatant, "Me and you, we shouldn't be here," is sort of meant to make people question the Imperium once you start getting around to like the actual like political conflict. Because yeah, they did execute a guy for stealing a horse. That is a bit extreme. But it feels pretty forced, and it really doesn't feel like it has as many stakes as a lot of people probably think it does. You know, well, it doesn't make me hate the Imperium that much, and it doesn't really portray a very broad picture of that sort of aggressive persecution. When you know the situation's pretty unique. You know, even you, when you're like not on the list, it feels like it's the specific people that are there doing that for the most part, which just kind of takes away any amount of, you know, slander, I suppose you could throw on the Imperium for that. It's not to say I like them very much. They're still not great. Don't get me wrong. I don't love them. It's just, you know, can't help but think maybe, just maybe, the game developers could have found a better way to make the Imperium seem morally questionable. It's definitely easier, Skyrim, than Oblivion, but in the weirdest way possible. Right? Because not only is it a lot buggier, especially in regards to the merchants. You know, we all know that age-old trick of punching the merchants, quick saving, punching any merchant in the face, and then quick loading, and you just get away with, you know, well, it just restocks their inventory. It's an old-fashioned maneuver that we've all had to do at some point to get the items we want out of merchants' pools. You know, Skyrim's a game that's just so tiring to play without exploiting it, but also the exploits take away a lot of the stakes. So to an extent, I'm glad I don't do some of them, but, you know. It is kind of fun to, like, run around, taking on random quests. You can definitely see what people mean, but, you know, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that killing the first dragon in the game is essential for experiencing the fun of just going crazy and doing whatever you want. So, you do wind up feeling kind of railroaded at the start. Especially because the guy who asks you to get the Dragonstone, Farengar, whatever his name is, that is his name, what am I talking about? He's a pretty good merchant, all things considered. He's like one of the few early game magical merchants who sells you stuff like, stuff like soul gems, and shit, which is always appreciated. Always will be appreciated. Big preach. You know? But, I don't know. It's just such a boring game sometimes. Especially with the grinding. Dear God. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion also has this problem, where if you want to get any stat to 100, it is just the most painful slog you can imagine. Even if you can, like, exploit. Magic, at least, it's a little bit nicer to you. Because, you know, you get to just sort of make it all happen instantly. An exploit I have barely touched, by the way. I don't know why I'm defending myself with it. I want to do it, but it's a little more confusing in the execution to me. Well, you need items to do it. It's the thing at the end of the day. I'm just kind of jabbering about reasons, but despite the fact the reason's obvious, you need to reduce the spell cost first of the spells, otherwise it sort of just doesn't work nearly as good, you know? Also, if you power level too early on, you can get fucked pretty hard, especially if the skills you, like, get super high early game are, like, sneak or, you know, illusion. Illusion magic is one. It's all very odd. And magic in Skyrim too. God, it's more awful than I even remember, because I was playing Oblivion for a while. And magic in Oblivion's really good. It's really powerful. You can do a lot with it even in later game. And the ability to make your own spells and enchantments just makes everything better. You know, you can enchant your own stuff in Skyrim, but it's like, you can only pick one enchantment, if I recall. Or you have to, like, do a bunch of stuff. You have to get a special perk. And also, the way Oblivion did perks, I think, was a little better. Where instead of just, like, a skill tree like any other game, the level of your skills, as you reached different levels, you got the perks for free, right? And level ups, what you got out of your level ups was stats. And stats was the thing Elder Scrolls did away with only in Skyrim, which I think is dumb. Something's flashing up on my screen. What is that? You might not be able to see it, but I can. Oh, looks like the Maple Island got wiped out. What a shame. You know, I liked them. They seemed cool. They seemed like one of the more interesting factions. It's always a disappointment when, you know, someone you were kind of rooting for a little bit. You know, they were interesting because I like Maple. I like the aesthetic of Maple. It's pretty. Sumia. It's beautiful. I love the reds. I love the reds. Yeah. What else do I talk about? Because talking is also slowing down slightly my ability to do the art I'm supposed to be doing. So, you know, it means I'm going to be here longer. You know, this video's going to be like 2 hours long. Oh, no. Oh, no. Anyways. What else do I talk about? Oh, One Piece. I love One Piece. Most recent chapter was, I like it. It was a bit weird. Like, not weird in the sense that it was poorly done narratively. It was very well done in a narrative sense. But it was, strange to see. Because the manga, anything you read, really, is paced as quickly as you can read it. And I'm supposedly a pretty fast reader, so everything just kind of moves at breakneck speed, and I have to double back a lot, which made the reading experience a little weirder. But no, I loved it. It was great. I thought it was a good choice, what they did. No spoilers. I'm just going to say, great choices were made. Great narrative choices were made. Some awesome stuff was done. But now I have one burning question. Where do we go from here? The answer is simple, or at least it should be. To a backstory, to a little bit of an aftermath to what happened. And hopefully like a way to decelerate things, just a little flashback of something from someone. To me, at least, that would work out. It would do nicely to just contrast the action. Again, read One Piece, if you haven't. Do it. If you have the time, at least, and if you can, read. Use some big words in that. Some big words and some words that aren't really, used that much anymore. Sometimes I'm disappointed with the art I make. Yesterday's daily sketch was pretty terrible, in my opinion. And sometimes the drawing practice stuff that I do just kind of turns out bad to me, But that's part of the process. You just gotta keep doing it. Even if you're disappointed, that just means you need more practice, and you practice. I'm happy to call myself an artist. I draw. I don't do so necessarily entirely casually, so I draw. What else do I have to talk about? Fuck. I think that collaboration stream with that other guy, the one. We've been talking. He's great. He's a nice guy, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I think that was cancelled long, long ago. But he's apparently taking a vacation to the beach right now, which is good for him. He deserves it. I think. He seems really busy all the time, is the thing. And I know what he's doing with that time that he's supposedly really busy. Because, I've added him on Steam, I can tell what he does. He just plays a lot of Fallout 4. I can't blame him for that, at all, because Fallout 4 is a great game. It wasn't on launch at all, from what I hear. I didn't get it on launch, I got it way later. There's a war going on. Jeepers. A lot of stuff happening. How long has this recording been going for? I'm almost done with the first exercise. 20 minutes? I guess I could show pictures. You know, I could take them and show them in the video. You'll know whether or not I decided to do that because it'll be in the video, or it won't be in the video. Or rather, in the title I'll mention if I do put drawings in this video. Oh, that's why that looks off. Hold on. Just correcting a little something. There we go. Now it looks better. Again, there's a chance you're not seeing it at all, what I'm talking about, but still think it's good to mention, because it's what I'm doing with my time, and I talk to myself anyway. Alright, the first exercise actually didn't pan out too bad. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Again, if I decide to show pictures, you'll know. But as of right now, I'm still not sure. And I probably won't be sure until the end of the recording. Until you've all left to go do whatever it is you're doing. No one's watched to this point, let me be honest with myself. No one's seeing this part of the video. Fuck, no one's seeing the video probably. I'm probably going to tell you there's nothing happens in the title and or description. So if you are watching at this point, cool. Thanks. Means a lot to me. I need more attention time. I do kind of want to get my channel monetized. And if you know the monetization requirements, you know that I'm nowhere near that, so... You know, they're not actually that crazy. If you don't know the monetization requirements, I guess I'm going to tell them to you now. They're a bit intense, depending on how casually you take this whole YouTube thing. They're mostly just, you know, get people to watch your videos, make videos, and most importantly, have subscribers. 500 subscribers, 3,000 I think it is, yeah, 3,000 valid public watch hours within the last year, and most importantly, well, yeah, that's it. You know, one of the other requirements is obviously post at least 3 videos. Well, at least post a video every 3 days. I think that changes once you get enough subscribers and enough views on your videos consistently, but you know, for now. And people have been watching my videos more recently. Mostly my Binding of Isaac stuff. People don't really watch the Minecraft stuff ever. There was that one Binding of Isaac video where well, if you watched it, you'd know. And yeah, no, that's kind of come to pass, if you couldn't tell by my other stuff that I've been uploading. I'm doing fine now. But, oh wait, I in the middle of one exercise forgot I was doing that exercise and start doing a different exercise. That was that was pretty silly of me. I have a VR headset. I just remembered that. I could like start doing VR on this channel. You could see more of my movements. And fuck, the headset microphone might be better than my actual microphone, so... I did it again! Shit. I need to remember what I'm doing for once, fuck. Ah, tell me you're a sheltered white boy without telling me you're a sheltered white boy. I'll start. I mean this sincerely, never, never, once gone on a populated street. Well, by populated I mean like think center of Joburg or New York, big space, lots of commercial buildings rather than housing or tight-knit housing. Never been to one of those places. Well, I have been there, just in a car going somewhere else. For a time I did live in Joburg. It's a nice place. Or at least it looks nice. Like, if you're really far away, you would think Joburg's a beautiful city. If you're really far away. Because let's be clear, once you get in there, it's fucking horrendous. Crime is a big issue. Litter's a big issue. You know. Everyone is just so done with everyone else, it seems like. At least that's in my experience. I know for a fact there are a lot of nice people there too, right? I've seen plenty of nice people in that city, but it's just most of them really are not like that. It's mostly just a bunch of assholes being assholes for no reason. Unnecessary assholery is just kind of the staple of any big city, though, isn't it? It's just sort of how it works, Big city. That's an interesting title for a show. Big city dickheads. Wonder what it would even be about. Presumably, dickheads in a big city. I know. Absolutely astonishing concept. The name really doesn't tell you anything, does it? But there's so many places you could go with that. You've got stuff that already is kind of about that sort of thing. You've got Dan versus the World, I think it is. Never watched it. Well, I've seen clips. It's interesting. He is a dick. Like, clearly selfish, antisocial person. But not exactly, he's not the worst, right? He's not like the worst guy there is. But he's definitely not pleasant. Oh. I have a problem. A hardware issue. Now, I've had an entire escapade with like my headphones mic, my headphones I had to get replaced recently because they just gave out. And that was shortly after the mic issue. With those, it was a lot. But there was a technological issue I had just before any of that that was also terrible, awful, miserable experience. And that was, I have a disk drive in my PC, right? I might have talked about this before, I don't really remember, and I don't really care to remember right now. But I have a disk drive, right? It's awesome. It really is awesome. You can enjoy any form of physical media. If you have an emulator that can boot from disk, that can boot ROMs from disks, you can like play PlayStation games on your PC from a PlayStation disc. I have a Battlefield 2 disc. I tried it out once. It worked. It was crazy. It was awesome. I loved it. Problem. The disk reader doesn't work. Not because, it's broken or anything. It didn't stop working because it broke. It just stopped working because my power supply... Okay, so I got a new hard drive installed another time. I mentioned this in a video as well. And turns out my power supply can't keep both running at once. And if I try to plug in the disk reader to my motherboard, get it going, it saps so much power, apparently, that my PC doesn't boot properly, and the disk drive doesn't even work because it doesn't have enough power to, do all of the things it's supposed to be doing. It's kind of just insufferable how shitty that feels. To be depraved, deprived of something that you really appreciate for the sake of other conveniences. I've considered getting rid of the hard drive I got, not getting rid of it, but taking it out until I get a replacement power supply and just using the disk drive. But that hard drive is what I use to store my videos and, So I can't really get rid of it if I'm going to be making content right now. So I'm just going to kind of have to live with a non-functioning disk reader until I can get a power supply replacement. Thankfully, among the PC components that have gotten way more expensive because of AI, power supplies are not on that list. They're a whole nother thing. Partially because they don't have any RAM. They're a common electrical component in a lot of things. So, they don't really get it more expensive because of that whole AI boom thing going on. I just wish AI would fucking stop. Not like all AI, because there's that lack of nuance with there are different kinds of AI. LLMs, ChatGPT, Claude, that other one that I can't remember right now. All those just need to go away. Just be gone from this world. No one wants you anymore. Well, people do, but not for good reasons at all. And it's even worse than that. LLMs are demanding and everything, right? But it's also those visual generation models that are way more intense, if I recall. Just so much more demanding than even the LLMs. And both just need to be gone. No one can use them for what they're supposed to be doing in an effective manner. They're not good at all. But at the same time, they're not going to go away immediately, is what I'm trying to say. They just won't. That's not going to happen. Even if we wanted to. Once the data centers start getting shut down, they're not going to, scuttle them the same way. They're not, well, scuttle's not the word. They're not going to strip them down, probably. And even if they did, that wouldn't actually put much RAM on this consumer market. It would just toss a bunch of AI GPUs and CPUs into the abyss. either to be repurposed by the companies that manufactured them, buying them back, which I doubt would happen because they already sunk so much effort into producing and selling them, and they'd probably lose a bunch of money. Or just a bunch of people start grabbing them out of those places and selling them in bulk around the world. It's also, you got to keep in mind, is the actual amount of GPUs and RAM that exists that goes to the identifiers. It's being manufactured, and like the dedications are being taken away from the consumer market. But if I recall correctly, it's not actually there yet. Once this is all done, it still needs to be. It's just like set aside. The amount of production is already just set aside for AI, but it hasn't been manufactured yet. And that's part of the scarcity problem. So if NVIDIA or, AMD or any of those companies, I don't know if AMD is involved. I just list them because when I think NVIDIA, I think graphics cards, or Corsair. If all those RAM and component manufacturers come around to the consumer market, they'll just take those dedications and put them back to consumer RAM. It's all about, what they plan to do. It's kind of how the stock market works, actually, if I recall. It's all about what you think's going to happen, not really about what is happening. A lot of groups that are not technically profitable on paper, that don't make money, have high stock values, like those AI companies. Because theoretically, they should be making a lot of money. Theoretically, they could be making so much money that it's like ridiculous, but not really. Right? Like we all know the truth. They're not profitable. They never were profitable. They're not going to be profitable anytime soon. I wonder if anyone sees the outro I made. I made it a while ago. Like a few videos ago, I want to say. And it exists. Like, you can just watch it. The song is on YouTube for free. It's not mine. You can read who it's credited to. Just skip to the end of the video if you want to see it. I don't know. Like, probably should have mentioned that first, but I don't know. I didn't, so why did I do that? I talk to myself in a weird way. I talk to myself weird. It should be weird to talk to yourself at all, but joke's on you. You can do it even weirder. You can talk to yourself wrong. No one looks at the daily sketches I post, and that's fair. They're not very good. But, I kind of wish they did anyway. Someone keeps liking them, and I think I know who. Because, I know her personally. It's my mom. My mom is subscribed to my channel. And she probably sees those posts and is like, oh, my son's making art. Beautiful. I need to like this. And that's nice of her, right? Assuming I'm right and there isn't just someone who avidly looks at my post history. It's, it is strange, though. It feels good, right? It also feels good when people comment on my videos. It feels really good. Who's taking over the world right now? There should be, like, a group dominating the Earth at this point. That's what usually happens. Let's look at the world stats while I'm here. Total deaths, 9,000. Sapient population, 2,697. And if we go to the genealogy, and it's not here, that would be here. If we go to the genealogy, subspecies, families, languages, cultures, let's go to the subspecies tab and look at all this. And sort by renown, or no, members. The most successful current subspecies are the sapient pumpkins, are these pumpkins creatures. The most successful sapient populace at the moment are the hyena people. I think they're hyena people. Let me check. I know what the emblems look like. I can just look. Luclaw. Is that a hyena man? Is that something else? Are there even hyenas in this game? I've forgotten. Thankfully, I can just check. Yeah, there are. Yeah, I think those are hyena men. They would be right next to as I recall. Yeah, no, that is a hyena man. The hyena man is taking over the world. Good for him, you know? He deserves it. Maybe. Usually it's the rhinos when I do these experiments, but maybe it's just because I don't have a diverse enough array. You know, they usually get like warlike traits and then they just take over the world. It's weird. But it does happen. And it happens pretty consistently, semi-consistently. One of these exercises is way faster than the others, and that's the one I'm doing right now. Just making some like simple hatch mark type things. It's not like beforehand I was like drawing cubes and shit, and like detailing those cubes, which took a minute, especially because I was talking. But I'm drawing more now as I talk. Not because I'm talking, I'm just learning to draw more while I'm talking. And I don't usually do the drawing exercises for a long time every day. Usually it's like an hour. I just sit down for an hour, draw a bunch of stuff, maybe take some breaks, because I oftentimes don't eat enough at any given point in the day. So later I just always need to eat way more. And it's very bad for me, probably. Super bad habitual behavior. But it does give me more time to get things done, depending on the time of day it is. Because as I just mentioned, if I do something at certain points in the day, I'm just hungry the whole time. And that makes me do them worse than I would usually. I wonder what today's sketch is going to be. You know, I had a few ideas. They're all pretty complicated. And, you know, if I try to make something complicated, chances are it's not going to come out right. Or at least not as right as I would hope for it to. But, you know, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine if it doesn't, you know, come out exactly right. It's about doing it, not so much as doing it perfectly. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. You know, some people can tell me that I'm practicing wrong. That's fine. I think I'm doing it good. I feel like I'm improving. Little bit by little bit. Like, you know, my improvement isn't extremely noticeable day to day. Sometimes it seems like I did one thing worse the one day than the next. And I've only been doing this for a couple of days, but it feels like that sometimes. But that's okay. That's part of the process. It's why you do it. It's so that you can learn. It's all about learning. And learning involves slow and stable improvement. And like anything, nothing's perfectly stable. Sometimes you do better, sometimes you do worse. And you just need to, practice. And do it for long enough. And you keep doing it over and over again. You get better. And that's what's beautiful about art, right? It's something anyone can do if they just practice enough. I was even worse not too long ago. I didn't know what I was doing. Everything looked like shit. But in time, I learned, and that's very significant to me. A lot of kings are dying right now. The bug people still seem to be around. Or, some sapient race. Oh, God, those are like golems. Hold on, I just need to check what's going on here. What are these things? This is their current monarch. What is he? It is a crystal person. It's a rock person. Weird, man. I forgot those guys were in this game. Ew. No one's taking on the maple area, which I find very strange. Why is that? The pumpkins. The pumpkins have taken over the maple forest. The living pumpkins have taken over. That would explain a lot. It's why no one's really pushing past the coast, because how do you even make headway against the living pumpkins? They pop up out of nowhere. They destroy everything. Those don't make a nice sound when you click on them. That sound makes me sad and angry at the same time. It makes me sangry. Sad angry. You ever felt like you're doing something wrong? Me too. That's the end of that statement. But you're not always doing something wrong. Sometimes you just think you're doing it wrong because you don't trust yourself to do it. That's what it was with me in a lot of things, right? But, all you have to do to feel better about yourself is take a closer look at the right way, the supposed right way of doing things. And you might come to see that you're closer than you thought you were at first. And that's always a big help for me. Like you see all those artists who draw like those big, beautiful scapes, and because it's such a big portrait, you kind of fail to realize that oftentimes their line work's not as straight as it looks, because it's really hard to do that, but it still looks beautiful because they did it right. They did like the composition right, and they put the lines in the right place. The lines don't have to be perfect. But if you trick yourself into thinking they do, then you'll just give yourself a headache. Right? And the lines can look good, but they don't need to be perfect. They never did. It's the macro details that really need to be good, but that's easier to do than you realize. "30 cylinders. 30 at least small, sometimes large cylinders." That's one of the exercises I do every day. I draw a bunch of cylinders, which is actually a really good exercise for practicing drawing cylinders. Because cylinders are super important. Ask anyone. Everything's a fucking cylinder. No matter what it is, it involves cylinders in some way. Tree, cylinder. Person, legs, arms, fucking nose sometimes, fingers, cylinders. Snake, just one big cylinder pretty much. Thinking. Pencil, cylinder. You think drawing an apartment building, you're not going to have to draw any cylinders because it's mostly squares? Wrong. Cylinders. Support structures. Window barring oftentimes has cylinders. If you have a little rooftop lounge, that's going to involve cylinders. You want to make a packet? Those little grooves that appear on packets and like cloth and stuff? Cylinders. You might not realize it, but they're like the top parts of cylinders. Want to draw cloth? Cylinders. Believe it or not, there are cylinders in cloths, especially depending on the amount of detail you're looking to put in. One of my favorite things to do with cylinders that I will do sometimes is I'll draw them in a circle. What I mean by that is like draw a circle out of cylinders. I might be able to take a picture of one and like show, if I'm showing art in this video, you'll see what I mean. I'll show a picture of a page full of the cylinders, and you'll see the cylinders there, and how they're organized into how some of them are organized into circles. Not very good circles, mind you, and not very good cylinders, but that's part of the process. It's just practicing your cylinders. Perspective is oftentimes one of the hardest things to do. Like, believe it or not, perspective is super important, especially when making objects look 3D on paper, and it's extremely difficult. I'm a lucky fellow. I don't know the full song. It's from a VeggieTales movie. I don't watch VeggieTales. I don't like the idea behind it, right? That's the primary issue with VeggieTales in my mind, is just The idea seems too strange and too difficult to take seriously. Well, that's not the primary issue. The primary issue is that it's fucking stupid as shit, even if the premise would seem alright. Even if you did the premise correctly, the idea of Christian vegetables teaching about God makes me sick. Not because I hate Christianity, just because it's super weird and kind of gross. Just the way it's being taught sometimes. And like the extremely childish portrayal of a very serious spiritual idea would also be probably really weird to me. I don't care what you believe in, for the most part. As long as you're chill, as long as you like just hang out and don't really cause any issues, we're cool. Probably. We are probably really cool. It's just when some people take things way too far, and believe you me, they do. Like most Christians of any denomination, even evangelicalism, is what's weird about them, for the most part, is they're pretty normal people. They're not weird, and that's what's weird. It's because when you think about religion, very often it comes back around to just the strangest versions of the people that practice religious ideas. When very often that's a inept way of thinking about it. You know, I could sit here and talk about how this denomination or that denomination of any religion acts this way or that way, but most people within them are just kind of using that as a general moral guide, which is totally chill, and they're just normal people who don't even really think or talk about it that much. And you get people who think it's like their duty to preach everywhere they go, and I'm just like, okay, you're not a bad person, you're just annoying. You're just annoying as shit. I don't want to talk to you. Because all you ever talk to me about, because I'm an atheist, is religion. But I'm lucky enough to have never met any of those people in real life. I just imagine if I did, it would be unpleasant just to put up with their stuff. Their bullshit. Oh, some people are making headway on Pumpkin Island. That's nice. There are some achievements I wonder about in Worldbox. Just because they seem really odd to me. You know, achievements that make you go, How am I supposed to get that? You know, with the addition of the monolith, you can get civilizations without ever even spawning a single creature yourself, which I find to be really cool, actually. I think it's awesome. Because it kind of gives you the option to try to push a world with guidelines like disaster and, events, rather than kind of having too much initial control that leads to difficulty seeing the same thing happen in different situations. Well, different things happen in different situations. Sometimes the same thing keeps happening because, the world's kind of structured like that. And that's how it kind of works. I used to get not envious of other people's ability to do stuff, but just kind of super depressed. Like, dangerously dangerously self-doubting and self-deprecating. And as time's gone on, I've sort of unlearned that behavior, which is really nice. I'm just so much happier for it turning out like that. That change in my life has really remolded me into a happier person. And I'm pretty grateful about that, even if, it took a while. I've just come to appreciate what people do more than, feel bad about myself. Which also makes you a more tolerable person. I'm just going to say this right now. Even though I haven't socialized in person with a lot of people in a long time, I can tell you from, recollection from a time when I did talk to a lot of people, no one likes someone who's too self-deprecating. It just kind of brings down the mood about something that everyone should be able to be happy about. Everyone, especially in a situation with a talent or hobby, should be able to just appreciate other people's skill and ability in that rather than feel bad about themselves. Not only because it's just kind of sad to look at that person, but also because it's like, come on, man, why'd you have to make me feel bad about doing something I like doing and doing it well? How long has this video been going on for? An hour? I've gotten more done in that hour than I thought I would. Crazy. Which one of these do I do next? The yarn one. That one seems kind of cool, yeah. Again, I'm sorry. I've kind of made up my mind that I'm probably not actually going to show this to you. Maybe one day I'll show you all the drawings. They don't look very good. I'm just going to re-preface this by saying it's still not pretty. The exercises themselves are intended to improve my ability, but I'm still not there yet. So it's a long way to being good. Getting good takes a long time and a lot of thought and effort. But doing it feels good. It feels good to be more consistent. You hear the set little goals stuff a lot, and I used to think that felt kind of pretentious, but I realized after someone described it during one of those kind of discussions that was because I kind of failed to realize the point of that. The point isn't necessarily just get small stuff done, right? It's not necessarily just about doing the things and being done with it. It's also about, it's also a mental health thing about trusting yourself to do it, which, for a long time I didn't. I just kind of thought I was lazy and stupid, and that's just kind of how I was. But no, I've come to, oppose that thought over time and, more consistently doing healthier things. And that's something I've only really started recently, but still feels good, especially even in a kind of short amount of time. It still feels nice to do it. I wonder if you can hear the pen strokes. If I check back in the recording, I might be able to hear them, because I don't really have any noise suppression on this mic. I have one of those pop shields, one of those little mini mic pop shields, not the nice ones on the big microphones, one of those little foam things. But that's the closest thing I have to noise suppression equipment. So I wonder if you can hear my pen. on paper. Ballpoint pen, underrated for drawing, in my opinion. Super underrated. It's good. It makes lines good, clear, decent amount of ink. Sure, it's kind of messy if you're drawing instead of writing because they're made for writing, but it's a fine enough art tool. And if you don't have anything else, if you need just a cheap way to use ink for drawing, ballpoint pen. Give it a go. You'll be happy with yourself. Well, you won't, because to be clear, it's not like a pencil where you can erase what you're doing. You just kind of have to put up with every missed mark, every kind of minute failure. So you won't necessarily feel good about yourself at first, because you won't be able to ignore what you've done wrong and move on. Well, you can move on. It's just about, you can't move on the same art piece with it. You kind of have to linger on your mistakes because you're using pen so they don't go away. You can't erase them. Unless you use like one of those pen eraser things, but you can't use that very often. Builds up too quickly. That gunk that you use for those. Different forms of art are very different from each other. Not like different forms as in, different ways of creating the visual. It's not necessarily about that. Different kinds of art people do. Where it's like there's expressive art where you just kind of make an image, and a lot of people with that talk about like just letting the image take shape, not necessarily influencing it too much yourself. Then there's the kind of stuff people do with commissions or animation where you have to create a specific thing. You have to think about it in regards to that specific idea that you're doing, right? Which is pretty difficult sometimes. Especially because that's oftentimes going to involve drawing people. And people are hard. People are really hard. I imagine if you practice the anatomy day in, day out a lot, it gets easier, but like any other kind of artwork, but it still has to be super hard. What I'm saying is, like, everyone has an idea already of what they want to create, but I could swear sometimes it's more or less about, letting what you want to create sort of take shape on its own and not really railroading it too much. And sometimes, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you really have to railroad it super hard, and that's very difficult to do for a lot of people, myself included, at present. I am in awe of people who can just draw from imagination, pull something out of their head and put it on paper. That's incredible to me. It's kind of what I've always aspired to do. But that's a long way from where I'm at right now. So, I need to work on it is the thing. Because it might seem, I'm talking mostly to myself here, but it might seem like, what you're doing doesn't really come around to what you're supposed to be trying to accomplish. And, it might feel like learning is directionless, but it's really not. Eventually, it'll click as you get better at what you're doing, even if you don't realize it until you're doing the stuff. That's why part of the reason why you should probably do the daily sketches, because it all comes together in your head. Harshness is necessary in learning to some extent, for some people like me, just having someone tell me do it and you have to do it and be really aggressive. I've never thrived in an environment where things are left too open-ended. It's always been, for me, in those kinds of places, super frustrating to get myself to work. Sometimes in order to get myself to work, I need someone to make me work. That's okay. That's an okay way to think. You just sort of need to first get the obligation going in your head. Even if it's like, you can do it to yourself too, is the thing. You can like just stress yourself out about not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, and you'll come around to doing it again. It seems counterintuitive, but it feels great once you start doing it. Because you exercised, regardless of whether or not you recognize it entirely, you did exercise self-control and self-discipline in that way. And that is always going to be a beautiful thing. Alright, change topic, I guess. Hard to think of one. Right now. Probably not going to record this video throughout my entire drawing drills thing. I might not even make like my final daily sketch in this, during this, but you know. Once this one is done, I guess I can close it out. So I better have just a quick fire topic because I'm not finishing up here, but I'm getting kind of close. Jesus Christ, what happened? Huh. I don't have anything. I kind of just blabbered off. BioShock, I guess I could talk about BioShock while I'm here. Love that. Love it. A lot of people today, I imagine, might not have played it when it came out, or even at all. Because kind of the hype around it is sort of in retrospect at this point, where people talk about how great BioShock was, but no one really gets into it that much, because they kind of just assume everyone around them already knows that it was amazing, and that's, you know, why it was amazing. It's definitely, like, different, right? It's a single-player, first-person shooter, but it's mostly a story game. It's mostly about the story. It's mostly about what you're doing. I'm not going to spoil it, because you should play it if you haven't already. Like, if you haven't played BioShock, you need to play BioShock. It is something that you must experience. It is such, like, first of all, the atmosphere is immaculate. Absolutely unbelievable. And for twos, the mechanics, really fun. They had a lot going on for them there. It's an early example of a morality system, albeit the first one's morality system was a lot simpler and worked a lot differently than the second one. Well, like, not a lot differently. It's kind of the same sort of thing where you're presented sometimes with like a choice, an A and a B option, and you take one or the other. It's one of the things I didn't like about Infinite, actually, is that kind of removed that from the game. Like, it gave you the idea that you were making decisions that mattered, but, you know, it didn't really feel like they did. And that's kind of frustrating, right? It's one of the reasons I think it's, like, fine game, but, like, yeah. Also, just the lore. The lore is not particularly complicated as games go. It's actually pretty straightforward. But, man, is it fun. You know, play BioShock if you haven't. You should get it, buy it on Steam if you can afford it, and play it. First one, second one, don't bother with Infinite. Like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to close this out by saying Infinite is fine, and if you like it, I don't blame you. I can see why you would, but it doesn't measure up to the previous two games at all, and there's a reason a lot of people remember it more for what it did to 3D modeling, specifically its tangential relation to a massive leap forward in 3D modeling and 3D rendering animated technology and porn. That's something you should look up because it's pretty interesting. But other than that, it has nothing, really, compared to the previous two. Alright, well, that'll be it for this video. You know, I was drawing the whole time. Felt good. So, have a good one.